Okay, not a sexist, but I gotta say, guys of NXT, step your damn game up. The ladies owned the show tonight. Again.
There's gonna be a fight tonight!
What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your February 10th NXT review. A little bit tired, just got finished watching NXT and SmackDown, so there's going to be a SmackDown review coming shortly. This was the ladies' show. They kicked it, they killed it, and everything else is very, very lackluster by comparison. But here we go. Baron Corbin comes out, which basically gives us an opportunity to hear the commentators talk about how he's pissed off that he's not in the #1 contender scenario anymore. Gives them a chance to talk about Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe, which is happening next week, apparently. He's taking on Johnny Gargano, which immediately I'm both excited and bummed about, because Johnny Gargano, as you guys know, I didn't know before he came to NXT. I'm not an indie guy, etc., etc., etc. It's one of those very many situations where I come to you guys and be like, hey, tell me about this guy. Should I be excited about this guy, etc.? I'm excited about the guy so far. Now, somebody said to me the other day, I said something about something, the Sanfrana Garrett, that was on last week or the week before, asked me, how do you not know this person? I don't want you to think that I don't respect people from other places. It's just not what catches my interest. So I'm very honest with you guys as to like whatever you like. I'm not telling you guys that WWE or NXT for that matter is the cat's ass. It's what I do. And it makes me very ignorant to what goes on outside the WWE, and I think I'm very honest with you guys about that as well. That is why, with a very open forum and a very, I'd like to think a very open heart, I come to you guys with stuff that I don't know, and say, please, if this guy's coming to NXT or if this guy's coming to WWE, to use a very bad metaphor, I live in the WWE world. I live in the WWE house. This guy's coming to my house. Tell me about this guy or this girl, in the Santana Garrett case. What can I expect? It's, if anything, it's where I fall down and where you guys stand up. And a lot of the time when I do stuff like that, it really, I don't know how to say this, really. It shows the diversity of my audience. It shows you guys giving a little bit back to me, which is amazing. And to those of you that do, anytime I've ever asked when Sami Zayn was gonna come into into NXT, so I asked people like, what is this guy? Who's El Generico? Tell me what I should check out. When Neville was coming over, before he had the name Adrian Neville, I was like, who's this Pac guy I keep hearing about? Before Finn Balor debuted, I said, who's this Prince Devitt guy that I keep hearing about? Every single time, people will either tell me where to go, or they will send me a link, or they will link me a video giving me a little taste of this person that's coming to the WWE. That's really, really fantastic. I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but that's really fantastic. And to those of you guys that do that out there, genuinely thank you. Because I don't think I'm going to become an indie guy. And that's not, again, that's not me putting down indie wrestling. That's not me putting down anybody that watches indie wrestling. I am very comfortable, and I am very loyal to an extent to that WWE wheelhouse. So when I can come up here, like I say, on this forum, on this platform that I've made for myself, and say, guys, this is where I fall down. Give me some help here. Give me some context. And you guys always respond in droves. And I haven't really taken the honest opportunity to thank all you guys for that. But for you guys out there that do that, that's fucking fantastic. Please keep it up. Similar thing happened a while ago when Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, which I still don't know how to pronounce properly, I did the same thing then. And people gave me things that I could look for with these guys, and it's all good. I wanted to see a great Johnny Gargano match because I'm becoming a very big fan of his, but I also know that the spotlight is on Baron Corbin. They're hovering him around the NXT main event scene. So as much as I get to see Johnny Gargano in the ring, I know that this is a match that's going to be designed to make Baron Corbin look good. It's kind of a bummer, isn't it? Rights and lefts by Gargano to start, and rights and lefts by Gargano to start, and chops. Corner toss by Corbin, reversal sequence by both men. Rights and lefts in the corner by Gargano, a mounted 10 punch and a right hand by Corbin. Corner clothesline and a choke by Corbin. Corbin kneels on the back of the guy's head, knocks him down, face down on the ground. You know, kneeling down next to him, kneels the ball of his knee into the back of the head. It's not anything pretty. It's not anything scientific. It's just, I'm going to crush the back of your neck, which is good. Standing and then sitting, Anaconda Vice by Corbin. Chops and elbows and a backpack sleeper by Gargano. Backpack sleeper, I've said this before. Anytime I see a backpack sleeper and it's not immediately countered into the backpack stunner, it's kind of a bummer, because it's kind of, you've left a loose end there, and it could be different, but it's not. Boot and a rolling kick by Gargano. Springboard spear by Gargano from the apron. Now, when I say this, I say he's grabbing onto the second rope, springboards himself between the second and third rope, and spears Baron Corbin in the ring. It's good. Deep six by Corbin and a super kick by Gargano. Both men trade some more punches outside. Corbin makes it back into the ring before Gargano does and manages to hit a quick end of days to get the win. Gargano looked great in this match. As I say, becoming a big fan. Corbin, I will say, looked better than he usually does. Showed a tiny, and I mean on the microscopic tidbit level, showed a little bit more character in the ring than he usually does, and it wasn't a bad match. Still bummed out that we don't get more focus on Gargano, but that's another story for another day, isn't it? As I mentioned before, we're getting the match between Zayn and Joe next week. We saw a video package on the match that happened, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago? The triple threat match with Corbin, where they had the dusty finish. They did a video package on that. We had some words from Sami Zayn. He's disappointed, but he's just going to have to go through Joe again. We hear from Joe later in the night. It's very, very typical. What am I going to do next week? I'm going to beat this guy. What am I going to do this week? That's why I'm going to beat this guy. That's why I'm not going into it in detail. But we heard from Sami. We heard from Joe. The pre-taped pre-fight comments. It's kind of by the numbers on NXT. It's one thing where they don't vary very much, unless there's somebody who's comedic or they actually have a backstage altercation. It's pretty generic. I don't mind, because they're nice, they're short, they're sweet, they're to the point. We don't labor on it like we do on Raw or SmackDown or God forbid, on a pay-per-view. But there's not much to them, which is why I don't talk about them here. Speaking of things there's not much to, the Hype Bros versus Jobbers. And I don't say jobbers to put these two guys down. I don't know who they are. They didn't get an entrance. They didn't get an announcement. They didn't get a nameplate on the TV screen, and I don't think their names were ever mentioned once. One of them had on tights that said Bruiserweight. There's nothing to say, is there? Ryder headbutts one of them in the arm to start and hits him with a drop kick. Headbutts him several times in the arm, which gives you the idea that he's going to work the arm for the match. Doesn't happen. Slingshot corner clothesline by the Hype Bros. Hip toss by Mojo. Tosses both of the jobbers around the ring for a while. Baseball slide to both jobbers on the apron by Ryder. The jobbers try to double team in the corner. Double knee lift by Ryder. Shoulders from Mojo. Corner splash and a pounce by Mojo. Hyperdrive, broski boot. Hype Ryder and the Hype Bros get the win. If you don't have a name, you're not winning the match. So this didn't do much. Hype Bros are entertaining. They need somebody that I give a shit about on the other end of the stick, is what I'm saying. I know I say this a lot. I listened to the Taz podcast, and you made a good point on NXT a couple weeks ago. You can have jobbers, or enhancement talents, as they're referred to by some people. It's cool. They can be nameless, faceless guys that are there to get the shit kicked out of them. But give them a name. Give them John Smith. Because then, at least, the Hype Bros beat John N. Smith. Now, the Hype Bros beat two guys that were so unimportant they don't even get names. So, why? We have another segment in the back. Again, very cookie cutter, very by the numbers. Bayley, Carmella, typical babyface and babyface promo. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna fight our hearts out. We're gonna go in as friends. We're gonna come out as friends. Gosh darn it! This is where somebody's gonna say I'm a dick. I don't care. This is why Bayley's not gonna work on the main roster. Alexa Bliss. Speaking of people that will work when they get to the main roster. Alexa Bliss versus Cameron. In much better a match than I thought they were going to get. Alexa Bliss is awesome. She's out there with Blake and Murphy, unfortunately. Collar and elbow tie up twice. Arm drag by Bliss. Awkward collar and elbow tie up in the corner and a takedown by Cameron. Double knees to the back by Cameron. A hangman by Bliss and mounted punches. Bliss basketballs the face of Cameron all over the ring. It's nice. A single leg and mounted punches by Cameron. Bliss eats turnbuckle a lot. I mean, just Cameron's got her by the head. Over and over and over, face first into the turnbuckle, and she sells it well. She sells it well to the point where with each contact her face makes with the ring, her body goes limp for like that 1 second. There's that one flicker, that one flinch of impact, and it's really, really good. For something that we typically think of, because we think of the turnbuckles as being soft. It's the pad that's meant to protect you from the metal ring that's inside. So you think of it as almost like they're hitting one of the gym mats from high school. But you know, in all reality, and I don't say this to be a dick either, I've gotten a chance to stand in 2 rings in my lifetime, you know, gotten a chance to, you know, push up against the ropes, turn up against the turnbuckle. It's not as soft as they look, much like the ring ropes are not as flexible as they look. So even though it's a pad, even though it is a protective pad by definition, you should still make it look good. And a lot of the times it doesn't. A lot of the times throwing somebody face first into the turnbuckle pad is almost a comical looking spot. Alexa Bliss, to her credit, sold eating a turnbuckle wonderfully, marvelously. It was good. Boot and a rolling neckbreaker by Cameron. Takedown, step over, handspring, double knee drop, and a sparkle splash gets the win for Bliss. No interference by Blake and Murphy, which makes her look like a strong heel. I mean, I know Cameron's not a huge name. She's just kind of there, which is fine. But this was a good match. Cameron got in her stuff where she had to. Alexa Bliss was obviously the focus of the match. And the fact that even though she's a heel, she didn't have a whole lot of heely tactics and a whole lot of heely interference. You know, Charlotte, you know, take notes, please. Made the win more impressive. You need to have heels that are made to look like a legitimate threat. That way we don't have so many people all over the internet bitching, whining, and complaining about the chicken shit heel, because it does, in fact, get old after a while. We have a somewhat comical segment in the back between Enzo and Cass and Gable and Jordan, and, you know, they're bantering back and forth. Enzo and Cass are trying to get across the fact that they're pissed off and they're going to be the champions and they're going to be back-to-back NXT Tag Team of the Year award winners when Jordan and Gable come in and say they're going to do it, and we're going to do it because we're ready, willing, and Gable. And when he tries to say the Gable thing, all the other people in the segment say their own names, and he's like, no, it's supposed to be my name. The point of all this is next week we've got an 8-man tag, Enzo, Cass, Gable, Jordan versus Blake, Murphy, Dash, and Dawson, which is fine. Throw all your division into one match. Sure, why not? The Hype Bros can be the dual referees. Elias Samson versus Jesse Sorensen. Now, this is kind of cool. I should have noticed this a couple weeks ago when I saw the name Jesse Sorensen, and I recognized it somewhat. He was the guy, if anybody watches NXT, that broke his neck after DJ Zima Ion did some sort of moonsault from the turnbuckle to the outside and clocked him right on the top of the head. Now, dirt sheets have blown it all up, and I don't know what the entire story is, but apparently he was given medical leave, and then it was extended, and then it was extended, and then he was fired. So the idea basically being that he got dicked around by TNA, which is a story that a lot of people tell these days for various reasons and whatnot. Yeah, the whole Awesome Kong thing is interesting too, isn't it? I should probably do a video on that at some point. But, like I say, for the very little that I remember him in TNA, I didn't see anything wrong with his work. I enjoyed it for what it was, for his brief period of time that he was there. So kind of cool to see him here, but it's another one of those, they're really pushing this Elias Samson gimmick, so I recognize Jesse Sorensen vaguely. Thanks for coming out, kid. You're going to be a punching bag. And he was. The match consists of a kitchen sink, a mud hole, chops, forearms, and punches by Samson, while the crowd, who don't like the drifter gimmick at all, chant "Drift away" loudly and vigorously and with furious abandon at friggin' Elias Samson. Now, let me say, I should have said at the beginning, University of Florida State is where they are performing tonight. They are not at Full Sail. This show felt bigger. Every time the crowd got involved, especially in the main event, it felt bigger. Every time you saw a crowd shot, it felt bigger. Every time you saw the rampway, just because it was a little bit different, just because the entrance was a little bit different. Something down to something as simple as Baron Corbin's spotlights when he comes down to the ring. There were more of them, which makes you think the rampway is longer, which makes the venue look bigger, which makes the show look bigger. It was great. I know Full Sail is the home turf and all that sort of thing, and NXT is still a relatively new baby thing, so they're gonna not stay too far from home. But like I've said very many times before, this very much gives NXT that Impact Zone feeling. Not in the quality of the show, not in the quality of the talent, but in terms of, you know, we were all excited about Brooklyn because they went somewhere else, and they got seen by a different crowd. And they got seen by this, and they got seen. I'm pretty sure Izzy didn't travel all the way to Brooklyn. That's another story for another day. But the crowd, my point is, the crowd felt bigger, and they were louder. And I think, on some level, crowds at a live NXT show know that anybody watching them knows that they're a larger crowd than the Full Sail crowd. I made a video a long time ago. As soon as they found out that the takeover was going to be in Brooklyn, the Full Sail crowd started chanting "Brooklyn sucks" for no other reason than they were kind of saying, no, NXT is ours. Now, Brooklyn said Full Sail sucks with the mentality of, no, you get this all the time, you got to start sharing it around. And we're a bigger crowd, and we're going to show you what a bigger crowd can do. Look what they did in TakeOver London. TakeOver London, the crowd was fucking insane. TakeOver London was the UK telling all of America, no, you get this wrestling all the time, time to share it around a little bit, which is great. The bottom line of all that ramble and all that derail is the crowd and the venue and everything. The show felt bigger. It was on a grander scale. And that's fucking awesome. Anyways, continuing with the beatdown, 2 boots and a knee drop by Samson. A really awkward looking head vice. He's got him in a headlock on the ground, but then he changes it and sets him up a little bit. And basically he's got him in a headlock where he's pressing his skull against his knee. And that's the hold. It's not that it's, in some weird twisted position. It's not some, heavily scientific, intricate submission move. I'm pressing your skull into my knee. And that is my submission move. That snap neck breaker that he does gets the win. Jesse Sorensen didn't do anything. Wasn't given a chance to do anything in this match. I feel bad for this guy. At least the jobbers that fought the Hype Bros got a couple of shots in before they went down in a blaze of glory. I'm laughing when I say this because obviously he's there to fill that role, but he was literally a punching bag. I don't think he literally got a shot in. I have to reiterate once again, you cannot pay me dollars and cents to give a shit about the drifter Elias Sampson. So much like the University of Florida State students were saying tonight, I would like him to drift away. Oh yes. Bayley versus Carmella for the NXT Women's Championship. Now, talk about things that are working against this match right off the bat. Not particularly on board with Carmella going into this match. She seems like somebody that only really gets 100% cheered when she's with Enzo and Cass, because she's part of that Enzo and Cass package. On her own, she gets a very mixed reaction, very muted reaction, and Bayley is Bayley, and she's basically the John Cena of the NXT women's division, except people like her. The other thing is, I made a mistake. I've read forward in my spoilers, and I know the match that's taking place at TakeOver Dallas. So I know that Bayley is going to be the champion at TakeOver Dallas, unless she dropped it here and got it back on another episode. But I don't think that does Bayley or Carmella any good, other than the fact that Bayley would be a 2-time champion. I say I don't have any respect for Carmella going into this match. Coming out of this match, it started slow. It started very elemental. It started in a very... Hey, Bayley, okay, now we're going to do this move. Hey, Carmella, okay, now we're going to do this spot. It started out feeling like that and pulled away from that feeling very quickly. I hope that makes sense. It started out very rudimentary, very wrestling 101, as somebody else in this community always says, and picked up and picked up and picked up in such an amazing way that if I hadn't written it down, I would almost forget the feeling that I had at the beginning. I hope that makes sense, because I'm really trying to give these girls a shot in the arm. I'm really trying to give them a strong compliment, and I'm really trying to come up here and say something that most people in the YWC don't say, is that I was wrong. Other than the fact that I wasn't excited because I already knew what the result of the match was going to be, and that always takes a little bit out of it, this was a great match. So let's talk about it. Collar and elbow tie up to start. A headlock by Bayley and then a headlock by Carmella. Seated armbar by Bayley. A trip and a side headlock by Bayley and a back elbow. Arm drag by Bayley. Atomic drop by Carmella, which you don't see in very many women's matches, so it made me legitimately mark out a little bit. Double drop kick spot where neither one of them hits anything. Arm and wrist lock by Carmella. Corner splash and a low running elbow by Bayley. Running knee drop by Bayley takes us into takes us into the NXT equivalent of a commercial break. One arm surfboard by Bayley, monkey flip and mounted punches by Carmella, head scissor off the top by Carmella. She didn't head scissor Bayley off the top. She was sitting on the top herself. Bayley came in. She launched herself off the top to hit the head scissor. It was nice, and not quite the way you see an off-the-top rope head scissor traditionally. Clothesline by Bayley, corner spear and 3 corner elbows by Bayley, running power slam by Bayley. Carmella tosses Bayley, Bayley goes to the top rope to do something. Carmella tries to pull Bayley off of the top rope, to counter into something else. The way they sell this is as if Bayley falls the wrong way, smashes her back on the apron on the way down, and then goes to the floor. And here's where you've got the great storytelling. You got Carmella, doing one of these, this is my friend, I hope she's not hurt, but at the same time I want to win the match. And then she hits a suicide-style cross-body to the outside on Bayley. Comes back in the ring. She looks like she's going to win by countout, which it doesn't do anybody any good because she's worried about her friend. She doesn't win the title by countout anyway. Thinks about it for another second or so, hits a second suicide-style crossbody to the outside, in the ring, Bronco Buster and a mic check by Carmella, a pinning reversal sequence eventually gets the win for Bayley. Bayley getting the better of a sort of extended pinning reversal sequence was a very anticlimactic way to end the match, but that is really my only nitpick. I have not, in my recent recollection, seen a suicide crossbody, especially in a Divas match. That was cool. Not gonna lie, goofy as it may sound, I popped for the atomic drop because it made me smile. They hug it out at the end, showing that they're this and that. And for a split second, and it was only a split second, I'm like, one of them's gonna turn heel. And then I think of the fact that Bayley's never gonna turn heel, and Carmella is the manager for the biggest babyface tag team on the roster, so she can't really turn heel unless she separates from them, which they're not going to do because that would be a risk that wouldn't work out in their favor, I don't think. So at the end of the day, they hug it out, and it just is what it is. But then, while Bayley is in the ring celebrating, you hear a scream from the ramp, and Eva Marie and Nia Jax. Eva Marie's hot as fuck. Nia Jax can get off my TV, but they're beating up Carmella. In the crowd, I don't know why the cameraman focused on this, but the cameraman focused on a sign that says Nia Jax is making Florida stink. Yes. And while we're looking at that sign, there is loud, like I say, University of Florida State crowd chanting, "You can't wrestle," at Nia Jax and Eva Marie. Asuka comes down to save the baby faces from the heels. She stares down Nia Jax and Eva Marie. The two of them, even though they've got a 2-on-1 advantage on Asuka, they back out. Asuka's gonna kill you chance. Eva sucks chance. Asuka stares down Bayley. We get loud yes chants to end the show. I mean, we go backstage, we get some comments from Joe about next week that are pretty generic and by the numbers, but really, the way I want to look at it, we end the show with Asuka staring down Bayley, and she sort of gives her a sarcastically knocks on Bayley's bell, sort of like, I'm next in line, I'm coming for this type thing. And those of you that have read the spoilers about TakeOver Dallas know what's happening there. So, fantastic show. Look at this. In the last... Okay, not all of them are great. I will preface this. But Eva Marie, Nia Jax, Carmella, Bayley, and Asuka, just in your last segment. Now, that doesn't include the fact that you've got Cameron in the wings, you've got Peyton Royce waiting in the wings, you've got that Garrett chick waiting in the wings, you've got Liv Morgan waiting in the wings, you've got Alexa Bliss, my buddy Guapo's girl, my girl Hot Heel Emma, and Dana Brooke in a pinch. So the ladies are running the show. Guys, step it up. This was a great episode of NXT. Please share what you thought of the show down in the box below. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye.